Okay, we wanted to talk about the hut practice. The hut practice comes from the Rainmaker story. The Rainmaker was a legendary bringer of rain to valleys and villages that were in a drought, that were suffering from the real effects of no water. People dying, no births, no food, people having to leave town, leaving the valley and the soil, just dry, arid. And we know in this world of ours that there's places that could do with rain. But the Rainmaker was that person that when he came to this village that was suffering from the lack of rain, asked for a hut for 3 days. And of course, after that 3 days, the rains came. So what did he do? What does our Rainmaker do in the hut? And that's kind of what we're exploring in our hut practice on Instagram Live, 7:31, Monday to Friday, that's Pacific time. We're asking questions about that. I'm teaching about what he did in the hut to bring the rain. And of course, that's metaphor for rain, love, joy, courage, fierce gentleness, a lot of the qualities we need right now in order to look after our family, the neighbors, the folks that are isolated, and the folks that also are going to be leaving us. There are going to be some people that will die. And so the Rainmaker hut practice is what we do, 7:30, 7:31 every morning, Monday to Friday, that is, Pacific time, to explore a little bit more about how to bring the rain, especially at this time right now. So there is, just to say that there is a movie called The Rainmaker, and you can watch it. It's fabulous about his upbringing, his initiations, and eventually how he brought the rain. But also there's the Rainmaker story that I have on my website that I'm happy to share with you if you would like to look at that. We've done an article on true meditation, which is really what the Rainmaker practiced, and I'll talk more about that in a second. There's also a whole series of poems that I've done on presence and getting to what is now, what always is, and what always will be, which is our present momentness, and that wakeful state and that place that we can really journey from is also pointed to, reflected on in these poems that I've done. What else about that? Yeah, the natural great peace. So let's talk about a little bit about hut, what it means, and the natural great peace that's available to all of us, and what true meditation is. So hut stands for, if we break it down into an acronym, H is for humanity, humility, humor, what it is to be, healthy at this time. We all need a hut practice right now in these changing times of crisis on the outside in your life personally, or you're okay, but outside around you, the economy is dying. What taken for granted relationships perhaps might be going through changes. Health concerns are getting louder for some people. We know that politically things are changing. We know that in terms of institutions like health and education and waste management, that these things are all going to be upgraded and changed. So we're in for a huge upgrade. So the hut stands for health, humility, humanity. That we are all human, and we can bring some of our challenges into the hut, and we can actually bring the rain, bring the healing, the transformation, the upgrade to people, to ourselves. U is for understanding that, we're not just a problem to be solved, we're a mystery to be embraced, right? That's what Rilke said. Life is not a problem to be solved so much as it's a mystery to be embraced. So in the hut, we're exploring that mystery, what it is to rest into that, given everything that's going on, thoughts, feelings, crises, challenges, all the rest of it. How can we rest into natural great peace that is here 24/7? So that's the U, is understanding from a felt sense, from a direct experience sense, not from some teacher's idea of what meditation is or isn't. Meditation is simply being, but being in that mystery is part of what we have a hard time doing, because in our culture we're told how to do, but we're not told necessarily how to be. We're not really human beings, we're human doings, as you've heard. So what if it was really about the human was to be busy and doing things and fulfilling goals and agendas and responsibilities, but also what if we really did drop into that being energy? So we have the doing energies, but we need to just bring up these being energies, and that's part of what the hut practice is. So we have our to-do list, we have our to-be list, which is not a list, if you understand what I'm saying, because it's just about being. So the understanding of what mystery is only comes through our own direct inquiry. Otherwise, it's theoretical, and somebody once said, or some philosopher, or some great teacher, or some apparent, god or goddess had said this, or a poet. But no, the hut practice is about you accessing your own mystery and all of what that encompasses, the fullness of that. And so we're exploring that. We're asking questions about that. We're resting into that. We're wondering what it would be like to live into that on a daily basis. What if we brought that quality of natural great peace into our daily activities, relationships, responsibilities? So that's H, U, and then T is time out. Is time out of this bully that is chronological time, and stepping into kairos, or time that is present, the once upon a time, the now, the presence that is full of adventure, the moment that is always now, and that journey, and journeying in that place. So really, hut is learning how to step out of time and step into the mysterious presence of here and now as it unfolds, and as we become more of that. Right? Not lost on you. We're human doings with our to-do list. We're good at that. We're an 8, 9 out of 10 on that. We need to shore up our being non-list so that we can bring more activities in, so we can find a nice little rhythm with that, and think when we find a rhythm with that, then we become more fully expressed and more ourselves. So these are things that I wanted to share about the meditation, and there's also some bullet points that I'm going to run through here. So, true meditation is the secret sauce that transforms us into a true human being. I was taught that meditation is simply being, and that's challenging for the mind to understand, but not impossible for you to directly experience. My own story was that I had meditated for a long time, taught meditation at the Spiritual Healing Center to lots of clients over the last 30 years. But at some point in the middle there, I just realized I needed to find out for myself what would happen if I just allowed the thoughts, allowed the feelings, allowed the sensations to just gradually settle. Like a glass of muddy water that stirs up all the stuff into turbulence, eventually just sit long enough and all this stuff kind of settles. So I wanted to experience that. And I gave myself 3 days. And I sat down. And I just allowed everything to be as it is. I just allowed the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the noises, the memories, the stories, my beliefs, the ego, the mask, the roles, everything to be as it is. And suffice to say, after 3.5 hours, everything was for me as it is. There were no more thoughts. There were no more feelings. There was just this open field of sunlight. I seemed to be out of a deep dark well and into this open field of sunlight of just abject bliss and joy and quietude, stillness, ease. Just think fresh, the freshness that comes after a storm, a rainstorm, the freshness that comes after you've had a good cry, the freshness of being captured by the camellias out my window and arrested by beauty. So you get the picture, just absolute joy. So I thought, you know what, we can do this. But now the hut practice is, it's kind of it's just allowing things to be as they are and just focusing into just relaxing into letting the body take us into the breathing that is the life force, that is the sensations, that is the quiet, the mystery. So it can be done quite easily, quite quickly if you're guided a little bit. So I guide you a little bit, and then we drop into this beautiful bliss in the deep ocean of quiet and solitude and joy from the tumultuous surfaces of tides and boats and spills and currents and whatnot. So yeah, you are a mystery to actually live, and how to live into that, how to live out of that, how to bring that to that's our curiosity, that's our wondering, that's our question. How can we bring this to the world? So by embracing and embodying the mystery from your own experience and direct inquiry, now you can be the judge and jury. That's really what I want to say. It's in your hands. You get to see for yourself, and don't believe what anybody else says. So in other words, for example, after all those years of, chasing after Freedom Mountain or a state, or using breathing to get us to a particular place of equanimity, and trying to attain, we're actually going to leave the meditator out. And we're just going to allow everything to be as it is. And with that, all sorts of great things happen. So true meditation is for us to really connect into who we really are, and what and who we really are, which is mystery. And what's so great about that? That's where we actually start to see that we are not separate from anything, from the camellias, from land, from our enemies, from the majority and the minority, the Democrats and the Republicans, the liberals and the fascists. We're all the same on some level. We all come from the same cloth. Just some of us are stitched together with a few dark patches, that's all. But we start to see that what we do to ourselves, we do to other people. We start to see from our own direct experience how much that is true and irrevocably true. So if you really want to know who you are and who doesn't, then this is the short way of being able to access that in the hut meditation. This particular meditation is aimed at you realizing your whole complete self, the wholeness that is there, not your brokenness. We know we've tasted and touched and participate in our brokenness and our procrastination and our perfectionism and our OCDs and our anxieties and our depressions and our manic states, our mental health disorder. We understand that. But it's also to realize that's within a context of wholeness. And wholeness is always available to us. In the hut meditation, we're accessing the wholeness so that it can inform us on how to deal with our brokenness. And then, of course, it teaches us how to do both well. So True meditation is always the acceptance of here and now, life as it is versus somewhere in the past or somewhere in the future. Oh, it'll be better when we get to Hawaii or Mexico next year. No, it's always now. It's never not now. So we're exploring that. Again, we're opening space around that. We're being curious about that. So there's no trying to get to a preferred state of peace or contentment or achieve a certain level of success spiritually or anything like that, because that's not what goes on, truthfully. Paradoxically, right from the very get-go, we're going to leave all that behind, including the meditator who is curious about states or is the seeker and has got a history and has got some way to think about, and story and believe certain things to be true. No, we want that character left alone, right? Just like you don't need the mom or the dad coming with you into the hut. We just want to enter into it in our raw, open innocence. That naked truth that's there after a really good cry. That vulnerability that opens the door to this deep, true nature of yours that is generative, loving, caring, fiercely gentle. So there's no more seeking, basically. Sorry, kind of have to give up on that, because really in the hut we're now in the business of finding for ourselves firsthand and recording that. So other parts of it, you need to be okay with, the fact that it might just get a bit odd. It might get a bit, your mind might not know what to do. The ego might not know where to go or how to behave itself. It's going to get a little different. But for now, it's simply allowing everything to be as it is. And perhaps the last thing I'll do, so if you want to practice this is the idea, this is the theory, and it's not to put down any other practices or any other traditions or any other intentions behind different kinds of meditation, doing different things. This is just, true meditation is simply being. This is a way that I was taught and I discovered and learned how to rest into what is always here, 24/7, no matter what part of the world you're in. And when we jump into the hut, we kind of sit down into that mud. The hut idea is a bit gritty, isn't it? I like the idea that it being a bit gritty. It might get a bit cold on our bums, that we have to learn to be okay with even the witch and even the challenges, the shadow, the moods, and even those things are all going to be allowed to be in the hut. There's plenty of room for all that. We just don't want to deliberately bring the meditator or the seeker in with us. No, he can pick up that hat and put that on afterwards. So the practice of this is Instagram, Monday to Friday, like I said, 7:31 Pacific Standard Time. And you just join us there. And for the first 5 minutes, I'll be guiding you. And then 12 minutes, we're resting into this poem that has really been the guiding force behind this and really captures this, and I'll leave this with you. The guiding poem goes like this, and it comes from Tibet. Rest in natural great peace, this exhausted mind, beaten helplessly by karma and neurotic thoughts, like the relentless fury of the pounding waves in the infinite ocean of samsara. Or just resting this exhausted mind that has been beaten and pushed around and hanging out with all sorts of crazy ideas and neurotic thoughts and anxious, depressed thoughts. And it's been beaten up against the shores of time and the infinite ocean of suffering. We're just allowing it to settle, all settle. And settle some more, allowing our bodies to just breathe into what is here. That natural great peace. That gorgeous quietude. I hope this makes sense. We'll see you in the morning practice.